Yeah, welcome to the show, everybody. Happy Friday. How you doing, Pansy?
Good. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. How are you?
I'm good. It's been I'm watching my nieces right now. My brother's out of town. It's Juneteenth, so like, he started his vacation early and I've been watching my nieces and stuff and kind of going back and forth because I'm still working, so but it's, good. Other than that, good. I mean, I like watching my nieces, so that's not a bad thing. It's just having to go back and forth because I'm working is kind of a pain, but it's all good. We do what we got to do.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Absolutely.
Well,
I mean,
so and I want you, Pansy, we need to talk about what you're doing because we got some interesting you got some interesting stuff going on too, but
well,
we're
yeah, with you.
yeah. I mean, look, today we brought our friends James and Haley Zieger back on to talk about the Founders Forum, which I'm excited to talk about, which is I'm a part of the community and I
So am I.
really
Yeah,
yeah,
we're a part of the
yeah,
community.
part of the community and it's created for founders, right? It's that's the idea behind it. It was created for founders who want to actually lead and lead with greater clarity, build stronger systems, relationships, grow with intention, right? All of these things that are really important as a founder, as someone growing and building a business. But it really is. It's about finding the purpose and helping each other grow along the way. Like there was a freaking awesome post in here from George that I'll read in a little bit without getting too deep into it right now. But there, great stuff going on in the actual chat, and just so much value you can glean from the community chat by itself. Forget about the training that James and Haley have put together in there, but also, just the value in the chat by itself is worthwhile. But, people sharing their experiences and all these things. So super excited to actually get in and
Well,
talk
I'd
about
like
that.
to talk about that a little bit before they come up
Okay.
as someone who just recently joined, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I had just the last few weeks or so joined, and I wasn't sure what it was, really offered in there and everything. I mean, I knew James and Haley and some of what they did.
Mhm.
Um, but immediately, like, and I also know everybody, but I know how they are too. Like, they're like this with everyone. Immediately, you come in and you're not like an outsider,
Mhm.
you know, you're just one of them, and everybody's really just trying to give you good ideas, right?
Mhm.
To assist in whatever you're working on, right? And people want to jump in on the opportunity with you, right? To get it done. So that's
Yeah.
been my experience so far. I think it's really good.
Yeah, and I don't see James and Haley allowing that kind of feel of the community to die off because what always seems to happen with these communities is they get larger and larger is you start to kind of you become less important, which is that's okay, but like it becomes sort of this big echo chamber and like of noise and it's hard to find the help anymore, if that makes sense, right?
No, it does make sense because if you want to go back to like joining Pace's group, right?
So exactly what I was thinking about.
You
Yeah.
know, it was still somewhat small a
Hmm.
few years ago, right? Like still decently sized, but not as big.
Yeah.
But yeah, as more people entered in, a lot more things started to get lost. And then, like I feel like a lot of people get looked over that way, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm not saying you can't get big, but I think like the best way to do it is have the smaller groups within, right? That
Yeah.
help each other get
Yeah, I
things
think that's
going.
right. I think that's right. And then look, like, and I'm not disparaging what Pace has built. Like he's built an amazing community and I just wish I had started in it a lot. I think a lot of people feel this way too. I wish I had started in it a lot sooner when it was smaller because you got more of that attention. One from Pace, but it was also small. It was small enough to where you could find the help relatively
Yeah.
quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening with this group. I think everybody that comes in, one is, you know, they're vetted to a certain degree, right? But also like everybody's there for the right reasons, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Especially right
I
now.
think that's what we all want. But yeah,
Yeah.
as you get bigger,
Yep.
I think it was just more in the beginning. I can say probably what Pace's group is less kind of like not quite a way for everybody close to each other, right? To immediately start getting to know each other,
Yeah.
right? Until we started getting more leaders in the community, right?
Yeah.
He started calling it people, oh, you're in this area, put on events, do this, right?
Hmm.
So
Yep. Yeah, and it's you know what the sentiment is still the same. It's still about becoming a leader, providing value and bringing up the people that are below you, right? Helping to pull up the people that
well,
are
no,
below
I wouldn't say below, just
below or
maybe,
just that are in a different place than you are
yeah, right?
that are
Like
still
bring them
starting.
along, walk
Yeah.
with them, beside them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But in our conversation, we'll get into that. Well, I want to explore what inspired James and Haley to actually create the Founders Forum and the challenges of it because, we're trying to do something maybe not exactly the same, but we're trying to create a community for people to find the resources that they need
We
and
are,
connect,
yeah,
right? And
we are creating,
we
not
are correct. Yeah,
trying.
you're right.
Just
I know I
kidding.
always do
You
that.
either do
I
or you
always do that.
don't.
I always do that. We're trying. We're trying. I'm gonna try. There is no try. It's like Yoda, right? There is no try.
Yeah.
There's only do, do or do not. Anyway, but we're gonna talk about that and really what it takes to actually grow a business without losing yourself in the process. That's one of the other big things. It's like that this is about, right? So I want to talk to them. We're going to touch on a lot of subjects here, but
Yeah,
I'd like to bring
probably.
them
We
in.
could probably go well over an
Yeah, we could. Well,
hour.
look, I'm big on the leadership, the community, the
Oh, shoot.
purpose parts of it, right? Working together as partners, like, you and I have our own experiences with that and lessons that they've learned from helping other founders navigate through all this stuff. It's a lot. And you've got to one of the first parts, in fact, I'll just talk about it really quick. One of the first parts of the education is literally finding like figuring out what your values are, right? And taking that time, right? And part of that is you don't actually get to define your values. We'll talk about that a little bit, but out and then you decide what outcomes you want, right? So it literally takes you through this process of figuring out who you are, what your values are, and then that's where it all stems from. That's the foundational components of this whole thing, which I really, really like. So we'll get into that, but I appreciate both of them being here. We actually had a cancellation, but and we luckily we had James and Haley that decided they wanted to do this with us last minute. So for anyone who that's in the community that saw the other episode that came up, we do apologize. It's just stuff that happens. Life happens, man. People need to reschedule. So, but I'm glad that they came in here. So we're gonna go ahead and bring them up right now. So let's go, James. What's up, brother?
What is
And
going
Haley, how
on?
are you guys?
What's up?
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Hey,
Thank you for having me back.
Of course,
I,
man.
I didn't know after that last episode. I thought it made you so upset.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought, oh,
Listen, we
yeah,
had
we
to
were gonna
bomb
fire
so
you.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you thought you got fired. No, we love having you guys on, man. And I'm stoked about this because yeah, both Pansy and I are part of the Founders Forum and learning a lot as we move along through the process. And there's a lot to it, you know what I mean? Like it's easy to say, figure out what your values are, figure out who you are and you know that there's a whole world inside that process. But I think James and Haley, you guys have really put together something that is special and it's helps you kind of it really does help you kind of clear your thoughts and really come to answers a lot quicker than you would have, especially would have on your own. But just the whole process, it really helps you kind of organize your I guess the better way of saying it is just organize your thoughts and organize your business, right? As you're trying to build it. And
I
I'm
appreciate that too,
oh
by the way.
yeah, well, it's the truth, man. It's
Well, I mean,
definitely
we're
the truth.
just getting started,
Yeah.
and like the way that module came together was honestly kind of interesting. If it's okay if I
Go,
dive into
no,
that
go,
real quick
go.
before we move
Please.
forward.
Yeah.
Um, those three things were what I used to do. We've had the conversation how I moved to like 6 months and 12 months instead of 6 to 8 weeks because I found that it wasn't enough. And when I went back to reflect on why some of the things that I thought was a hindrance of only working with people for 6 to 8 weeks, that was initially one of the things that I saw as a big time eater was I used to sit down with somebody for an hour and a half and spend an hour and a half on each one of those exercises separate.
Yeah,
But they would take up three separate sessions.
yeah,
And I realized that was almost half the time that I was working with them. And we didn't really do anything but talk about the foundation itself with no movement forward
yeah,
until we're halfway through. It's like, all right, well, now that we got through that, you got me for like 3 more weeks to try to figure some things out.
yeah.
So when we were talking about what we were going to put together on the module and in the classroom, I wanted to be so intentional with it. And of course, we have my marketing guru, I call her, sitting over here. I was coming to her with like all these ideas, just like that does not make sense from the standpoint of like what people get out of it. So we had that back and forth for quite a while. And then eventually it's like, oh, well, what if we just take these three resources and instead of when I bring somebody in, instead of working with them and eating up, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4.5, 5 hours of valuable time working with them, put it into something that they can do it in their own time in less time than that
Yeah,
and strictly work on high priority. So that's
yeah.
actually how that module came to be,
That's
uh,
really interesting.
as the first and
By the
foundational
way,
one in there.
for those who don't know you guys who are watching us for the first time, why don't we start with you, James? Give us a little bit of intro, where you hail from and how you got started in this, and then Haley, please.
The I guess quicker the shortest long story that I can give. I'm James. I'm in southern New Hampshire, originally from Philadelphia. I have been in the entrepreneurial space for just over 4 years. Before that, I worked in the culinary industry. I've worked my way all the way up the corporate ladder. Ended up leaving there because my wife and I had a couple spats back and forth, and there was more to life.
Mhm,
Messed around with a couple different things. I went back. I got my diploma because I didn't graduate on time, but I
mhm.
went back and got my actual diploma. Was going to plan on going to college. Was planning on going the tech route and coding. Um, Ended up not really going very far with that because working in the restaurant, I was there, 70, sometimes 90 hours a
It's a
week.
lot. Yeah, it's a
It was a
lot.
lot. And, she was the one that told me about real estate. I said no. She said yes. I said no. She said yes. We went back and forth for a little while. And then I decided, you know what? Happy wife, happy life.
Hmm.
Um, in the in between, I left the restaurant industry. I started working with a gentleman that I met through a mutual friend of Haley's. He was running a medical marijuana delivery service in Maine. So I helped him build that business
Hmm.
and still didn't click that leadership was a thing that I can actually pull over. Started wholesaling like most people do because that's kind of what we're told to do to get started.
Hmm.
Spent
Hmm.
about a year and a half on that. Wasn't really making the moves I wanted to. Didn't reach any of the goals that I wanted to. Walked away for a little bit, polishing oil trucks. That was labor intensive. The money was good at first, and then the money dwindled down. Came back, had no idea what I was going to do when I came back. Ended up linking up with somebody who was in one of the initial teams I attempted to build in real estate. Who was like, "Hey, my buddy's building this thing. I've seen your skills and what you can do. Would you want to jump in on this?" And I was like, "Well, let's have the conversation." I told them I didn't know anything about that industry. They're like, "I'll handle that. You handle this." About a year and a half, almost 2 years into that, I did a lot of personal development, personal work, went to a lot of really big events, picked up a couple coaches and mentors myself along the way. Really started diving into understanding myself, what my skill sets truly were. What have I done my entire life that's actually applicable to being an entrepreneur? And once I realized that there were skills that I have learned through all of those years that not everybody's attuned to or has not been presented to other people yet, that there was a gap that I could fill. And I wanted to see how far I could take that.
I
Uh,
love that.
so we started from ground zero scratch. We literally lost everything.
Hmm.
Walked away from that venture in completely in the negative, badly in the negative.
Can I
And
say something really quick before you continue?
go for it.
I feel like every successful person, couple, whatever, has that story. I don't know what it is. It's like it's like the universe makes you pay those dues before you become truly successful. So what I'm getting at is you're on the right track.
Oh, 100%. That's a whole rabbit hole we can go down with the
Uh-huh.
faith journey that I've ended up jumping back into
Right.
as I've been doing all of this and what I've been learning and understanding. But we went from below ground zero to, hey, you know what? We're just gonna bet on ourselves and start a business. And this is what you seem to be really good at. And it looks like you enjoyed. Of course, we had the back and forth, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then one day, Haley went under my name, put a post out saying that I was running a Zoom, and I had no choice but to show up. Those Zooms ended up bringing me in my first client. From there, I continued the coaching, battled with the idea of building a community, and just not even, well, 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, had the right conversations with the right people and finally started making that the reality.
Love that. And you know what? You and I need to talk about that in our own session. I'd love to talk to you about that part of it. Let's hear from you. Give
Oh,
us the
yeah.
rundown.
Well, I mean,
It's like,
kind of
oh yeah, I
similar,
gotta
He's like
talk.
kind
you're
of
like he
similar
pretty
to
much said
James,
everything. Yeah, he said pretty
you
much
know.
said everything I was gonna say. Yeah,
Yeah,
go for it.
no, pretty much the same. We've been in a bunch of different businesses together. We've always been in every business we've been in together for the last 4 years. And he was initially kind of skeptic getting into real estate, and I was still working at the time. And then he was kind of on and off work a little bit. And I think we both kind of found what we really loved doing when we were in the other coaching business. Kind of you moved away from integration and more into kind of leadership in the back end there. And I was doing the marketing in that business. We found, our passion within that, but also kind of being, under somebody else's business. You also found the things you didn't want to do or the things you wanted to do differently or could be improved upon, but weren't always able to do. So,
Yeah.
once we moved on from that, um, it was kind of like the sky was the limit within, what we're good at and enjoy doing within the Founders Forum and our coaching business.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so, just so I'm clear, you're the marketing and James is kind of leadership
Yes.
on the
Hey, hey,
on
hey,
that side.
don't let Haley sell herself short.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yes, I call her my marketing guru. She does handle a lot of the social media stuff as
Well, obviously you guys are both
a lot,
leaders.
but
Yeah.
a lot of strategy, a lot of like high priority decisions and conversations that need to be had.
Yeah.
Uh, Haley has played a very huge part and a pivotal role to everything that led us up to where we're at now and where things are going.
So what was it like at some point, what was it where you both decided like, hey, the Founders Forum like absolutely needs to exist? Was it just from like the fact that, and I know you spoke a little bit about the community like hitting this or having this right conversation to finally take the leap into actually building a community, but was there something between you two at some point that were just like this needs to exist?
Yeah, I mean a couple different things. I think
Yeah.
there was a couple different reasons for wanting the community to exist, kind of just having a space for clients to kind of be in after the well at first it was 6 to 8 weeks and then 6 or 12 months somewhere for them to go after or between sessions or to have resources housed in one place. Another reason to kind of open it up was to have people who, weren't ready to or wanted to invest at a higher level yet and kind of just
Mm.
wanted a community and some help with the resources that we have, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
or people that couldn't afford to do that. It's like, hey, you can kind of come in here. It's not
Right.
one-on-one, but we have these Zooms, and then we also have Zooms ran by some awesome people. We have
Yeah.
Meg, we have Chris, we have George, we have the your podcast in there now.
Which is amazing, and thank you for that.
Yes, and then we're gonna have a few more people, and then we have all of the resources in there too.
Yeah, I think and that's the big thing. It's like for me, just being able to go in there and see some of the community conversations that are going on, and people are just very willing to share. I use the example from George that he recently posted, but just like there's a lot of that, right? That I see going on in there. And it's a way to kind of get you in and get you learning from others that are maybe where you want to be, or people maybe even the same spot you are but are maybe learning new things that are willing to share it. And there's a lot of people in there that a lot of resources in there you can get just from being in there and taking part in it. Obviously, there's actually a few things I'm planning on posting in there about what Pansy and I are doing and talking about that stuff. But yeah, just to have access to that is pretty huge, because I know not everybody, can afford to do the one-on-one stuff just yet. But yeah, the just the resources and information that's in there is pretty huge.
I
What
like
so
it for the Zooms, for the
yeah,
because
yeah,
everybody goes in there and they talk about this stuff, not just talk about it, but like give you ideas
yeah.
or, jump in. Like I said, me and Chris started talking, Chris Marie's in the audience. Her and I had a lot of the similar things that we were talking about. And we're like, okay, well, let's team up. So, and, and Meg's jumping in and, Haley's helping in ways. So everybody just kind of like, nobody said, well, what's this gonna pay me?
Right.
Right? Like, how can we help? Oh, I think that's a good idea. You should maybe do it this way,
Yeah.
like Haley with her, um, you know, social media stuff and everything. And I'm just like, yeah, you have some good ideas. And
And
so, yeah,
not
like
only that,
it's
and
really small and collaborative though. That's not the
Yeah.
yeah,
feeling, right? Like you're not just going in there just to chit chat, right? You're actually coming in there with real business problems, whatever, and asking for some guidance, and you're getting something, right? Like out of it. So that's the part I appreciate very much. So go ahead, James.
well, I was gonna say one of the things that I've come to love about it, and I believe was it the second Zoom? Did Justin come on the first Zoom that you went on in there, or was that the second
It
one?
I
was a
think,
second.
It was
oh,
the second one,
Yeah.
for the community Zoom.
Hmm.
What I've started to love is everybody knows I love picking on people in Zooms. I don't like people being quiet and keeping the cameras off and sitting in the background and not participating, and not in like an egotistical way or like you need to participate or you can't be here. It's just because I used to be that guy that would you guys don't know it now because I talk a lot and you can't get me to shut up half the time. But I used to be that guy that used to sit in the Zooms with my camera off, would never go off mute. And I went into a lot of big Zooms where I would have a legitimate question or a legitimate problem that needed to be solved, and I wasn't able to get that in the Zooms.
Yeah.
So this is kind of why I'm going with the route of getting more people to run Zooms to where you can jump on a Zoom that you actually need versus just jumping on a bunch of random Zooms and hoping to get something out of it. But
yeah.
that Zoom that you guys jumped on, best your perfect example right there, being able to do it in a way, and this is what I love about the individuals that are running Zooms in there. And I was so glad when they said yes when I reached out. I was like, hey, I invested in school. Do you guys want to do you guys want to go ahead and do this thing with where you want to go? But being able to have a situation like that where I'm like, hey, Pansy, is it all right if I pick on you? And then you bring something up and then we
Oh,
talk
I'm
about it.
always getting picked
And
on.
then yeah, to actually be able to run through what the problem is, what the solutions can be, how did we come to make the decision on which solution that we were going to do, and what action were you going to take as soon as you got off. And that came down to what conversations and decisions for you to go have with your partner right after we were offline. You guys can go have that convo. That was the space that I intended to build when I was thinking about community. So I guess that's, grateful moment there just to have you guys actually come in and be able to in real time portray what I was going after with that.
Well,
Yeah.
and we talk about like so the community is sort of in this beginning state where it's growing, but it's still small enough to where you can make a lot of really good connections and get a lot of value. Have you guys thought at all as you guys scale this thing, like how to kind of maybe keep more of that feel as things grow? Like, are you gonna maybe break? I like Pansy's idea where you kind of break things into, groups, right? Where people can join like individual groups and
Well, I put it more project based,
like
right?
yeah, maybe that's the
Yeah.
right way to say it.
Like
But
I
like,
was complaining the other day that school doesn't seem to have like where you can add people to a certain group and then discuss something, right?
yeah,
Like
Right.
you have to, so I'm like, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a way to do it one way or another, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not an admin, right? So if it's not already in
No, we
there,
do have plans. So this is, and I love that this was brought up because actually, so I just onboarded somebody and we had our first call today as well. And this was part of the exact thing that we were talking about, is understanding when to be able to slow down with
mm,
certain things. And Justin, you and I have had this conversation about like taking a look at step 30 without completing step 1 and 2.
yeah,
So that's something that I've been, really adamant about putting into practice in real time with building the community as well. There's always this huge flood of ideas. Haley and I have gone through, probably 40 different variations of what the community was going to look like, even for the starting point
yeah.
before we settled on where it was. And it was just to do the thing
we don't know what
and
that's like.
then, yeah, let's take everything that we want to do with it, but do it at the times that it actually makes sense to
And
do it.
I feel like when we, do things like this and we don't know exactly what direction we want to take something, I think we know how we want people to feel. So we use that as the outcome. Like you guys had just mentioned, what are we going to do when it scales big? I've thought about that a lot because I do want it to have the same vibe. Right now, that is why people like it. That is like the top reason why people like it. And as it gets big, it is inevitable. We aren't sure exactly how we're going to do things, and we've been bouncing around a few ideas. One of them being, I mean, I think the most solid idea is splitting groups up. It's very vague, it's very broad, but we know how we want it to feel once it gets scaled, and I think we'll get more clarity on exactly how we're going to do it and maintain the same feel later on. I think
Yeah.
something along the lines of I don't know if breakout rooms is the right word for it, but or
I
capping the
think for
Zooms or
now, you
something.
guys actually, if there's a way to do some kind of project based sidebar for people, because how like
Mm,
me and Chris and Megan and like, well, most of us are all on the same project, right? Kind of in a
mhm,
way. But some people may not really be in it, and to put it all in general chat, right? If we're trying to talk about one particular project, kind of just seems, like it's all over, things are going to get lost. So that's why I was thinking if we had a way either in school, because otherwise then we got to take it out to like Slack or another,
mhm.
CRM type
Yeah,
of whatever
those are
social.
those
So
are some of the things that I'm hoping are coming with a little more development with school. I know school is our starting platform, but you guys both know I come from the integrator space. There are a lot of plans that I do have that include software,
Mhm.
and things like that, both on the coaching side, but also on the community side as things continue. They're going to grow and we hit certain stages like some of the priorities that we have at the moment, like we're not even worried about, pushing sales or appointment setters and things like that in the beginning.
Yeah.
When we're able to start bringing some of the hires on again, the whole premise of the community is for the community. This is our passion project. This is our give back. And just kind of where we're at with everything. And it's not meant to have anybody feel as though they're left out. So it's been that way for on purpose. So it's not like we're not telling people like, oh, we'll show you how to create $1 million wholesale business or,
Mhm.
$3 million buy and hold business or, $6 million triple digit flip business or anything like that. We want to
Yeah.
work with people at that higher level, help them reframe some of the mindset, some of the leadership, some of the modes of thinking, but have that space that they can come in, be vulnerable and open about the situation that they're in, what the reality looks like, and get real support from people that have been through it and are going through it and collaborate in those efforts to keep people pushing forward and moving towards creating that better life. My humble opinion, and you can say it's a theory if you'd like to call it a theory, but my philosophy on, if you want to talk about like the corporate structure and the way business is structured, everybody that's coming into entrepreneurship over the last 5 years to the next 10 years, in 20, anywhere between 20 to 50 years time is going to be the new corporate structure.
Yeah.
Means you're going to have a lot of big businesses that are going to be created over the next couple of years, or at least the foundations of them, which means 20 to 50 years time, they're going to be the ones that are, running thousands of people on a team and in a corporated company. I would like the Founders Forum to be a part of a new wave of that and a better version that doesn't cause a bunch of people to want to run away when they hear the word corporate to corporate structure.
Hmm.
Because I've seen, and I'm one of those individuals that I left the W-2 because of the corporate structure
Hmm.
and the politics and the way things went in there.
Yep.
When I first went to
Yeah.
get into it, I
Yeah.
said that I
My
wasn't going to
idea,
build my business
James,
that way.
that's
Huh?
why I thought my idea was if you pictured like old downtown Main Street, right? Every shop was an individual, right? With their
Yeah.
own skill, whether it was they had their farmer's market type thing or whatever, right? Like some,
Shoemaking, if we're
yeah,
going that far back,
soap making. I mean, you name
seamstress.
it, right? So, like, everybody has kind of their own little shop, right? And they do the thing that they do. They're doing their thing. So I like this that we can all do this together.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same premise. I mean, even if you want to look at real estate, if you want to look at it through that lens, and this was something that took me a little while of going through the trials and tribulations. When we first started, we got into wholesaling because we were told that's what we had to do to get started
Yeah,
in real estate.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And
Like
my
that's what
goal,
everybody's pushed and
yeah,
you're like
but
hurdled
my
this way whether you want it or not.
yeah, but my goal was at the end of the first year to have a duplex that we were house hacking and not have to worry about, paying any bills. That was the goal. How close was I to the end of that first year? But I hadn't even thought about it in 11 months after, I first initially said that, and I wasn't even any closer to really having the first deal done at that point either, and understanding why I wasn't getting a deal done. Most people jump into entrepreneurship and it's immediate real estate, real estate, real estate because it's all you hear. You hear it everywhere, and it's great. But I've seen and spoken to different people that are coming into real estate for different reasons. You have some that are coming in because they want to be a business owner, but they're not looking at real estate and what they're doing as an actual business model. So they tend to end up building the wrong thing or they're going after the wrong things, not realizing that there's a misalignment with goals. But then you have individuals that are coming into real estate that have already been entrepreneurs. They've already been wealthy in their W-2 life, and now they're in their wealth building stage to where they don't necessarily have to view it as a business model more as they do an investment strategy. So depending on which level you come in, you're coming into it at, if you're coming in with, barely any money or still in your W-2 and want to build a business, it's going to take a lot longer than you think to truly see that definition of success that a lot of people hear from people that are out there marketing and talking about the get rich quick, things like that. I don't necessarily call it schemes because you can, 100% you can. Most of
But
the time I've seen it's been by accident.
when
Um,
you do,
yeah.
it is most of the time it is by accident, and people end up kind of over leveraged and screwed real quick. Or there's people that see that it's not as fast and they either keep going or they quit and leave. Or then you have the people who are able to make moves quickly and sustain it. Those people have all of the skills already. They have the
Yeah.
relational skills, they have the sales skills, they have the business mindset, the leadership skills, whether they learn that in their W-2, from their home life, from some school, they went to in elementary through high school, or another entrepreneurship venture. But that is the smallest category. The largest category is mostly people who come in, see that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and quit before the magic happens. Second is kind of people who move slow, and they move slow, but they don't quit and they continue going and then they start making moves happen. The third, and this is the one that people don't see the most of, are the people who kind of have the sales skills and the people skills to move fast and make things happening, and they make things happen before they're ready to scale, and they end up kind of screwing themselves
Mm,
later. And those are the people you see them go real high real fast, and then they
yeah.
kind of just fade off into the background.
Yeah, you know what? That's funny you say that. I remember Pace talking about something similar to what you just described. He always warned us like, if you ever see people that are, especially if you know they're newer people and you see them buying or scaling, especially their real estate business really fast, um run, don't walk the other direction, because chances are there's something is not right. Either they're buying way over leveraged, or they're buying way too quickly to absorb the amount of expense that they're going to be incurring. There's a number of things, but that's a big red flag, right? When you see these
Mhm.
people kind of scaling really, really fast that are relatively new, or even if they might have a little bit of experience, like, their business is relatively new and they're scaling that quickly, right? It's a red flag for sure. Let me ask you a quick question though, follow up to that. Like we just talked about the founders forum, like it's a place you can come and refine how you lead, right? How you grow and operate, and then, ultimately build and scale. What is that refinement? Maybe you can walk us through. I talked a little bit about it when we first got on, talking about, figuring out your values, right? And discovering your values. Can you describe a little bit of that for people who are interested? Like, what does that refinement process actually look like from like a high
Yeah,
level?
that is a get rich quick. There's only two ways to do that. Inheritance in the lottery. I mean, you're
Yeah.
not wrong, Clyde. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
That's a whole
Truth.
rabbit hole that I can go down. Honestly, the whole reason that I started with the core values was because I fell in the avatar trap myself for a very long time.
Yeah.
And most people will find that they have the attributes of more than one avatar and they don't know where to put themselves. And oftentimes they'll give themselves an avatar that is so far removed from what they're actually good at, what they can actually do, and what will actually move the needle for them. Um,
Which is what makes it sustainable in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and a lot of the things that I've learned on the journey of like really diving into servitude leadership and faith and all of that. Um, is just trying to, I had to sit there and think about like, what is a way that I can explain this a little bit differently to people about being able to look internally and figure out, what should that filtering process actually look like? What should you say rather than telling people to say no to a bunch of stuff? It's like, well, how can I equip people to actually understand what to say no and yes to?
Well, the
How to
way you
actually start
equip
taking the
people
next
is
step.
let them go about their business and figure it out. Honestly, like we really do want to save people time and energy and,
Yeah.
guide them, right? But in the long run, sometimes we just really have to test out all the different parts, right? Like, think about it. If you're trying to move up in a position, right? If you're trying to manage all these people and you walk in, and this has happened, right? Like, you walk in, oh, I have a college degree, so I'm automatically a manager, right? I haven't even really done anything to know what the people that I'm managing, what their actual jobs are. How well of a manager am I going to be? So, me, I didn't mind like playing the role in different parts wherever I worked. I'm like, I'm getting experience here, right? Like, I'm going to come after your job until I found out they don't really make a whole lot more than me. And they had more responsibility. I'm like, oh, well, we're not going to go there. But either way, if I wanted your job, I know how to do your job, you know, but I could relate to the other people too, working the other positions, because I literally tried all of the different positions on purpose,
Right.
So sometimes trying to help somebody like maybe get there with less steps or less aggravation isn't necessarily their journey.
No, they're
Yeah.
not. And I mean, I've said the phrase, like, I'm not meant to work with everybody. Everybody's not meant to work with me, and that's totally fine. I can only put out there and share things, what people do with that is what people do with that at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean,
The
that's
the
all you
core
can do.
values exercise isn't necessarily to strip away like when you go through it, it doesn't tell you like, oh, you shouldn't be wholesaling or you shouldn't be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
It's like what is this set of values that you can actually hold on to that you can work towards operating within? And Justin actually did a really good job on one of our one-on-one calls of explaining from his perspective, which I thought was very interesting because it hit the nail right on the head on the perspective that I was putting it together in through
Mhm.
was you don't actually define those values, so you actually take a look at the people around you or you allow to influence you, and you figure out why you allow them to influence you, and you pull the values from that. And
Mhm.
like, all right, well, if they influence me and that's, kind of that's where I want to go, this is the identity that I should really be shooting for. I'm not telling you that these are your values now. Usually sometimes they are, sometimes they are not, but they give you a guide to at least understand some of the, at least pinpoint you towards the direction to be going to so that you can understand a little bit of like what actually does align with you and what does not align with you. You could
Yeah.
take the core values exercise and still go into wrong opportunities because there's alignment within the values, find out later that it's a wrong opportunity because of other factors. Am I saying that that's
Yeah.
not going to happen? No, it's 100% going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, it's not my right to take any part of the journey away from anybody. And somebody actually commented that on a post that we put out in the Founders Forum group with a question that we asked, and I thought it was a phenomenal response. And I absolutely love that. It was Gordon Thornton actually was the one that brought that up. And I was like, I 100% agree with him with what he said. But the core values exercise, yeah, you take a look at the people that influence you, you pull the list of attributes on why they influence you. Then once you realize like what those value sets are that you actually cling to, you don't name them, you're not naming them just yet. Like you're not done with it at that point. You actually have to sit with them and marinate with those values. And I require people to explain like what does this value actually mean to you and why is it really important to you? Like
Yeah.
if this is causing you to be attracted to somebody, why is it important to you? And but what does it actually mean to you at the end of the day? From there, the filtering process is actually a bonus that I had put in there. And it's four quick statements and has nothing to do with, the business model itself or anything like that. It's, what do I protect? What do I no longer tolerate? Who will I protect? Who won't be a good fit?
Right.
That is it, baseline, but such a pivotal foundational component to
Yeah.
move forward with.
Especially
Yeah.
when there's a lot of noise out there on what you should value or what you should
Yeah.
do within your business. That's why it's kind of important to kind of figure out what yours are. For example, in real estate or entrepreneurship, you think having like lots of connections and connecting and relationships all the time, which like, James, I know you do that, and Pansy, I know you do that, and both of you are great at it, and you love doing that, and you thrive, and that energizes you. That does not energize me. I do not align with that
And I get that. I
at
totally get
all.
that, Haley.
Yeah. So that's something, that you don't really hear. You hear, you got to connect, you got to do this, you got to do that. And it is true to a degree. But also there are kind of like workarounds with that, working with James and the way I work with James makes it easy for me to kind of do what I'm good at and what I enjoy doing the most. So,
Yeah.
and there's probably more examples of unconventional values. I know, Pansy, you were just talking about wanting to like, how you like to kind of try a little bit of everything to kind of see. So that could be another kind of example. So you would want people that align with that flexibility too. So that's why it's kind
Yeah,
of
I
important
find
to
it
kind of
comes
dig.
in, sorry, but you brought me to something because I was thinking about this earlier today. Because I'm throwing around names and like wording for the business and stuff like that. And I stick to like stick to what you're natural and good at, something, you know. And something I've just always done is if I seen what needed to be done and I could handle it, I didn't ask questions. I just jumped in and I did it, right? And like those are the kind of people that I need. Like if I have to call and ask you to do something, you know what I'm saying? Instead of you being able to like show up and, you know, just say, look, okay, whatever you need, I can handle something there, right? Like I don't need to know exactly everything. When I say I can be there for somebody, I'm just like, give me the gist of things and where I have to be, I'll figure the rest out, right? Once I get the evaluation done, kind of thing. So I was thinking like to myself, like, I need some people more like myself that can easily kind of put things together and be willing to hop in a certain role if it's called for, right?
Mhm.
Instead of saying, oh, well, that's not my job,
Right.
you know, like Justin was supposed to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those, like, that comes back to the the philosophy that I have that I know sits with a lot of people from what they've heard is if you want to get something done, you can just go hire everybody to do it for you and you don't have to do anything. I think it's the worst advice
Oh, without
possible
a
to be able to
doubt.
give to people. Um, so I'm glad that it shows up in that perception from you going into the community. By the way, like this is an emotional episode for me because I'm hearing a lot of the feedback outside of just the team right now for the community. So this is wonderful, and I absolutely appreciate you guys. But the
Oh,
name, it
appreciate
like
you guys.
even go down to the name itself, the Founders Forum. When I was going through iterations of what the name was going to be for the community, and we were like, man, it took us a year of like every couple months we were coming back to like, what if we name it this? What if we name it that? But the intentionality with that name came from my three core values.
Hmm.
And Justin hit on something earlier. Again, another hit the nail on the head moment is you don't define your values, your habits and your actions define your values. Um, that's one of those things. It's even again the core values exercise is it isn't to draw out of you like you need to name what it is that your values are. It's being able to set that goalpost for what you're working towards. And the intention behind like my three, and I did an episode of back when we were systems and sync zooms,
Hmm.
talking about core values and being buzzwords for a lot of things. Still to this day, I have the same three core values as I had then, which is the trust, integrity, and collaboration. Now, how do I take those three values and have those be encompassed in a name for a community for other people and kind of put that out there that, in the subconscious, this is what's being built and portray those
Hmm.
values. And
Hmm.
so far, everybody that's been brought in to run a Zoom, everybody that's come into the Zooms, and anybody that's been posting and being vulnerable and commenting in there and keeping the conversations going. So far, everything about it has lived within those three values, and it's just been amazing. Um, but that being said, again, we come back to we don't dictate them. Your values show up through your habits and your actions. And I learned this from Sebastian Angus a little while back, was the one that really broke it down and made me see and realize that and understand why I've always had this feeling people would use them as buzzwords. But it really was. It was just people trying to dictate something that wasn't the reality. How
Hmm.
do we have people pull something out and then make that the reality? That's
Hmm.
the premise behind starting with that. Look internally. Who are you? Where are you at now? Where do you actually want to be? Now you have a guide to be able to start working towards that.
I want you guys to plug it a little bit. If people are interested, how can they find you guys? How can they find the Founders Forum?
Oh, you can drop the link if you want, James.
Yeah, I can give you the links there.
James is
Um,
dropping the links today.
I don't
Yeah,
have it pre-set. I mean, on REI Volt, I usually have it like
yeah.
pre-copied and
Would it be
pasted.
just to go to just to straight to the school community? Just
They
like,
they can or they can also I keep all of my social media is very simple. I try to make it easy to find.
yeah,
The
yeah.
James Zieger. You put in the James Zieger on Facebook, Instagram, um, YouTube. I'll be right there.
Love it. Love it.
So we've got the links for everything there as well.
All right. So, and
Appreciate
then
you guys.
yeah, and for folks listening after the fact, I'll put the links in the description so you guys can find it. But yeah, thank you guys again for jumping on. I'm gonna go ahead and call the show, but thank you all for being here. Our friends who joined us, James, Haley, thank you guys again.